Hello everyone, I welcome you all to my English class, and today I'm taking up a beautiful story from your supplementary book of class 8th. The title of the story is The Selfish Giant. It's written by famous Irish playwright and short story writer Oscar Wilde. Oscar Wilde's one of the stylish fairy tales, The Selfish Giant, was included in the Happy Prince and Other Tales published in 1888. Oscar Wilde, who is noted for his witty dialogues, humor, careful choice of words, and arrangement of words, in this particular story, The Selfish Giant, he showed his best. Very simple and very interesting story. The Selfish Giant is full of inner meaning and moral message. It suggests that if we give happiness to others, we can also feel happiness in our life. The story tells about a giant who was really selfish. In fact, the selfish giant moves around a person who is very selfish by nature. He is tall, massive, and looks ugly. He doesn't like the children who are playing in his garden. His selfishness was quite evident in the act of his depriving the children from the pleasure of his garden. This story, The Selfish Giant, tells the story of the moral decay of every man. Oscar Wilde sets out the painting every man's inner corruption and way to salvation. Thus, this story, The Selfish Giant, focuses a great moral lesson of love and living astray among straight-laced readers. It is the lesson of love. Love is a divine quality. God Himself is the image of love. God has created man and nature. His boundless love rules the universe and brings about a harmony among the heterogeneous elements on earth, and it lends grace to everything. Love is a mighty power that has bound man and nature together. Love should be showered on all equally. He who loves all things, irrespective of their greatness or smallness, is the best prayed for. Dear learners, Oscar Wilde was an Irish poet and playwright, as I have told you earlier. After writing in different forms throughout the 1880s, he became one of London's most popular playwright in the early 1890s. He is best remembered for his epigrams and plays, his novel The Picture of Dorian Gray, and early death at age 46. Unfortunately, he died at the age of 46. About this story, as you all know, one of the most beautiful stories written by Oscar Wilde. It was first published in 1888 with other stories, The Nightingale and the Rose, The Devoted Friend, The Remarkable Rocket, and The Happy Prince. It is a short story with the elements of fairy tales and fantasy. Now, before summary, I'd like to tell you something, the points are the things the story revolves, are the main elements the story revolves around. This is love. Love is a great virtue, but it is difficult to cultivate. For the sake of love, one has to sacrifice a lot. But once love is enthroned in the one's mind, one is lifted up to heaven as a reward. Because God is love and love is God. If we talk about the summary, the story is about a giant. He had a beautiful garden where some children played during his prolonged absence. The children who played in Giant's garden felt fortunate enough to enjoy so many beautiful objects of nature, like flowers, delicate flowers of the peach trees, their ripe and delicious fruits, the note of sweet singing birds. The birds sat on the trees in the garden. Birds were attracted by beauty of flowers and their fragrances and they sat on the trees. Nature provided the garden with so many objects that the children's eyes and ears were feasted, and they gave up playing in order to enjoy them. Generally, children, they do not give up playing for sake of others, but here, because that sight was more beautiful or more enjoyable than their playing, that's why they gave up playing in order to enjoy them. Indeed, they were really very happy in the garden. However, on his return to his castle, the giant found the garden being used by the children as a playground. He built up a high wall around the garden and put up a notice board: trespassers will be prosecuted. This is really an act of selfishness. This very act makes it clear that the giant is very selfish. His crude selfishness will prompt him to drive away the children playing in the garden. Thus, he will deprive them of their simple and innocent pleasure in the garden. The giant is very conscious about his property and will not allow anybody to enjoy the beauties of his garden. Of course, the beauties of his garden are the beauties conferred upon it by nature. But still, because he was very selfish, he thought that the garden belongs to him only, as it was his garden, and he doesn't allow anyone to play there. So he built notice board. The wall, that the giant wall, was the wall of selfishness against the children who are blessed by Jesus Christ. It is a wall between nature and man. It amounts a violation of the commandment of God. The love to and in children who are simple and innocent should be loved. The giant deprived the children of their communion with nature. Of course, the giant was punished by the nature for his selfishness. Neither spring nor autumn visited in his garden, but winter prevailed all over it. It was winter throughout the year. But in one day, the farthest corner of the garden was the marvelous sight: a tree covered with lovely white blossoms. Once early in the morning, he hears a sweet song and thought the king's musicians are passing nearby his home. But he found a linnet in his garden who is singing on a tree. After a long time, he hears a sweet song. Put into the great joy, and he found spring in as the farthest corner of the garden. The children came through the little hole. He goes downstairs and found a little boy who is trying to climb up on the tree. Its branches were golden, and silver fruits hung down underneath it, and stood the little boy the giant loved. The giant picked up the little boy in his hands and placed him on the tree. He told the children that the garden belonged to them. Earlier, when he was selfish, he said that the garden was his, but now he is saying that the garden belonged to them. Finally, he took a huge axe and broke down the wall. With these actions, the giant showed his melting heart. The children are pure in heart and beautiful in mind. They are innocent. They are as pristine, as simple as nature. Joy, bliss, warmth, and life returned to the garden with the coming of the children. They brought about a change in giant's heart and helped to redeem his soul. When he gave up his selfishness and began to love the children dearly, he was relieved of his punishment. The winter weather was removed from his garden. The giant was rewarded, but these are the wounds of love. And you let me play once in your garden, today you shall come in my garden. That little boy, who I think was Jesus Christ in disguise, he came to the giant once again to take him to his garden, paradise, as a reward for letting him play once in his garden. The giant was redeemed by Jesus. He was absolved of all his sins. His soul became pure and scared. The white blossoms symbolize the purity and sacredness that the giant's soul attained and the everlasting peace that he obtained after death. He was taken to paradise for his unselfishness by Jesus Christ. The theme of the story is that having a warm heart will make you happier. When the giant had a heart of cold, it turned everything and his environment cold and depressing too. When he had a heart filled with warmth, he was happier and so was everything around him. Basically, you choose the way you want to live your life. You can live your life with a cold heart or a heart of warmth. Now it's up to you. So this was the all explanation of this story, the wonderful story. I hope you liked it.